Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another stream with me, Fluent Code, live here on Twitch and YouTube. Here in the UK, it's been a beautiful day. I've been off work, which is a real nice treat. I say I've been off work. I did some work this morning. Then I've had a bit of a relaxing day. Watched the new Twisters film, which was not bad, if I'm honest with you. I quite enjoyed it. We're back on the channel today with D&D miniature painting. I've been having quite a good time with this. We have been getting some absolute progress on some of my D&D minis, which is a real nice thing to achieve. It does mean that when I have a need for them, I will have some big chunky boys there ready to put on the table and terrify my my players. Over the last couple of sessions, we have been working on these guys, and these guys are an Oblex, a Fire Giant, and an Iron Golem. So as you can appreciate, yeah, they are quite big boys. They are quite a challenge rating. I've been doing this rather than some of the small stuff because I'd like to get some of the big stuff out of the way, get it done, get it ready, and then when it comes to some of the small stuff, it feels like a treat. I've done quite a chunk of the smaller stuff recently. So these do feel a bit more of a treat. So it's quite nice to have that sort of reward for painting some of the smaller stuff. Anyway, on to these guys, on to what we do with these guys. Well, first things first, or one of the first things first, I've got a tiny little bit of red to do on here. Or do I actually want to go into the Earth Shade already? I think, to be honest with you, I might be looking at going into the Agrax Earth Shade on him. It's a bit of a tricky one, actually. I mean, he's in quite a good paint position. I've got to do a little bit of leather. A little bit of bone colour on there, a little bit of leather on his wrist wraps, red on there, orange on his hair, and then the rest of it is going to be Agrax Earthshade. So yeah, I might just hold off on that one, and we'll get to that one with some of the next colours as sort of par for the course. So in that case, then. This guy is going to involve a bit of agraxing, because what we're going to do is we're going to do a bit of Trompe l'Oeil on the that music's maybe a little bit loud. I've had to trim some of my audio during the day today, so I couldn't get it the right volume. There we go, that'll do. It won't be picked up by the microphone anyway. So yeah, we'll do a little bit of Trompe l'Oeil on the armor scratches. We'll darken them down at the bottom of them, and then above them we'll come in with a slightly lighter color of the red. Will we? Yeah, probably. So he's going to sit to one side. So in that case, it looks like I shall probably be doing something like Wraithbone on this. Now, seems a bit weird. Wraithbone is probably not the colour you would most associate with it. However, there is method to my madness. They haven't come up as light as I wanted with just a highlight. Just going to shake this pot, so you'll excuse me for just a moment. Just trying to get a little bit of shake into this pot of Wraithbone that I have. Oh, that's not looking great at all, is it? Very, very thick. Very, very thick. Right, what we're going to do is we're going to lump a bit of that on there, and then we're going to water it. Like actually doing proper miniature painting this. Nearly. I mean, I won't say it's completely like doing proper miniature painting. Right. Now all we're going to do is we're going to go with some very rough highlights. And then hopefully when we come along with our red, we'll reapply our red. I'm just going to see if I can find a... No, I'm not. I'm going to use my small brush. Just because. Right. So what we're going to do is we are going to do the very tips of areas like that, and just sort of try and feather it in a little bit, and then just the sort of absolute tops of bits like this. Quite warm here this evening, so I have actually had to open a window, so we will see whether or not that's too noticeable in the background. I'm hoping that it's not going to be, and that I won't have to suffer all through the summer months with keeping the window shut when I stream, because so far the streaming has only been done during the winter months and up to now. Who knows? So I'm actually hoping that we are back to my normal D&D sessions this week, which will be Sunday. I'll be coming into it off of a week off, so I will want my D&D fix, that's for sure. I couldn't attend last week because of Easter and various commitments and what have you. So I didn't get my D&D dosing, and that makes for a grumpy Fluent Code. So this, hopefully we're getting this on stream nicely now. The artwork that I've seen for this gives this creature a sort of inner glow, and I don't feel that the contrast paints have really achieved that. I don't know if they were ever going to, really. I don't know if it was a fair expectation that they were going to achieve that, but I just wanted these to pop a little bit more. So we're going to go a bit rough and ready with these highlights. They're not typical highlights in that we're going to basically stomp all over these with contrast in just a moment. Once this is dried, we're going to let it dry properly, and then we're going to come along and hit it with a contrast paint. We just want it to be lighter underneath when we hit that. Without trying to make these these weird bits look too out there, I guess. So in theory, when I come back and hit these with the red contrast, they should be really quite bold. That's the theory anyway. They should look very, very prominent. That's the word that I'm looking for. I mean, it's pretty much the right word. It's just there are probably better ones. So I hope everyone had a good Easter break. Here in the UK, it's a long weekend, and I mean a long one, because we get the Good Friday, Saturday, Sunday and Easter Monday all off work as a bank holiday. Obviously, if your workplace adheres to those rules, often you'll find places like retail and what have you don't, but luckily I don't work retail anymore. Haven't done in a good number of years. I actually have no idea if this is going to work properly. I have a feeling, horrible feeling, that it's not. But at this point, it's kind of too late to go back almost. One thing I have noticed over the bank holiday weekend, quite a lot of my traffic does come from the UK, I believe. From what Twitch tells me, I get quite a lot of my traffic from the UK, which makes sense because it's evening time and what have you. Over this weekend, I've had similar levels of traffic, but much less in the way of interaction, and I'm just a bit unsure as to what that actually was. You know, nobody chatting, and the streams were still getting, you know, viewers, still had viewers, and to be honest with you, a slight uptick in my sort of regular viewing numbers, but then I have been noticing that over the last sort of couple of weeks as I've slightly changed what I've been streaming about, you know, moving away from video games into this sort of hobby related stuff. So I have been noticing a difference in what's been going on with the stream anyway, but it's just interesting that it feels like over that weekend there wasn't as many, or there was still as many people about, but they just weren't inclined to talk. I wondered if it was maybe a sort of everyone's come back from the pub kind of effect. I don't know that I'm actually late enough in the day for that. I'm hoping that these are staying on screen nicely. We have had to work at our camera positioning. And I still think I would prefer if the camera came up a touch, but it's not a deal breaker just at the moment. Getting it into a position where it's comfortable. I've had to change where my face cam sits, but you know, a change is as good as a holiday, as they say. I think whoever said that is probably lying or part of HR. Seems like something an HR-y type person would say. Oh yeah, well, you know, change is as good as a holiday, so don't use up those days that we owe you. We'll just move your desk. As I say, I want to create some nice sort of sketchy, it's almost like they're not low lights, not quite. In effect, they are actually, because what I'm trying to achieve is a sort of lit from within glow to it, and I am struggling a little bit with the standard. I don't think contrasts are probably the paint to try advanced effects like that, or no, they could be exactly the paint to try it, and I'm not high enough skill to do it, but they're still quite good fun to mess around with. So and what I have to remember to try and do is to catch all of these yummy highlights with the red when we come and flick it over. Hopefully this works, because I have spent a fair amount of time on this model now, and it was never intended to be a long-term paint on this one. So we'll see if this is enough to get it where I wanted. Now that might actually be the most sort of genius thing I've actually done with it. The areas where I think those glow from within points should be, maybe I need to hit them with a few sort of sketchy dots and dashes, and so that when I hit it with the red, that'll hopefully sort of glow from within or achieve that kind of look. What we're after is getting the right kind of look with it. After all, we have now spent quite a lot of time on this model, and that's almost outside of our modus operandi for these guys. Is we don't want to spend a lot of time on it. We want it done and done quickly, otherwise we wouldn't be using contrast paints in the first place. I'm just going to end up making him look like a mushroom, aren't I? I'm going to end up looking a bit spotty like a mushroom. Oh well, I think that's pretty good for now. I'm going to just sketch a couple more on the top here. just to make that area a bit lighter. And then we are going to test our theory once that has dried. Okay, excellent. Right. Now that theory is that when we hit that with a red contrast, that those lighter highlights that we've just put on there give a sort of glow effect. Who knows? It might work, might not work. We have a little bit more work to do on our fire giant. Now this is again going to be a little bit of an interesting effect. Let's see if we can pull this one off. We're going to try and do his hair. Now I want his hair to be quite a dark orange, but I also want more orange on the flames. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do his hair in the orange that I've got set aside. Oh my god, black skin and orange hair. Is he going to look like the bad guy from Ocarina of Time, Ganondorf? He's going to look quite close to him, isn't he? Did Ganondorf have orange hair? I can't remember now. Right, here we go. You want him to have quite sort of really quite bright orange hair and mutton chops. And then it's tucked away a bit, but there's if you look right in there, I don't know if you can see it properly, there's a weirdy little beard going on that I've got to try and hit. I was doing alright until the sword moved and dragged my hand with it. There you go, that'll do. So over this weekend, I did some repairs on the wife's car, and then yesterday, her and my daughter have been nagging me to move the front room around, only to change the position of where the to swap over the sofa and the TV, basically to move them to opposite sides of the room. So finally we did it, and since then I haven't been able to get either of them out of the front room. They're like, oh, this is so much better. For God's sake. Right, let's just see if we mix this orange with a bit of the medium and then paint that into the sort of mids here. Oh, that's looking quite nice. Doesn't look bad, does it? Oh, damn it. Okay, that sort of works, doesn't it? Tones that yellow back a bit so that we don't have the lowest point in there being bright yellow anymore. It's still going to be enough glow to emphasize. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
to emphasize the heat of the flame being hotter closer to the blade and closer to his hand. Hopefully it'll just sort of tie, because I'm going all over it. Where it goes to the top, it'll act as a bit of a glaze on the blacks and the darker colours, just to tie them together a bit easier. Which is quite a nice look, actually. The way the contrast moves around the model is always has been the sort of main drag of it for me, the main reason I like it. And I don't really care that it's, you know, some people go, cheating. No, it's not. It's all just painting. It's all getting rid of the grey anyway, isn't it? That's the aim of it, is to, you know, slay the grey. Do like that phrase, slay the grey. And like I say, because we're going all the way up to the highest highlights, it's actually it's glazing ever so thinly the top tones that I had there. Even while it's shading the yellow. Right, just this last little bit to do down here. I'm not going to shade the yellow with this on Iron Golem Man. I want to keep the yellow a bit more vibrant on that. I should really be looking at highlighting it and then applying the yellow over the tops of the highlights like I've just done on the Oblex, but there you go. That's quite nice, isn't it? The quick and dirty flames, and then we're going to Agrax over the lot of it. Okay, I'm probably going to do his hair as well when I Agrax it, and I might even do his skin tones. But first, what did I hear you say? But first, we are going to break out a little bit of Skeleton Horde, a little bit of Wildwood. What is... That's nearly what we're going to do first. First of all, we're going to break out a little bit of Gore-grunta fur. And we're just going to hit up the these leathery bits here. I was in my friendly local game store today, and I very nearly bought myself one of the big painting handles, the sort of fun size, you know, with the bigger jaws on them. And I was like, no, I don't need that. And why would I want one of them? And then I sort of remembered just now, this is why. I think I have actually mentioned on the stream that these big boys don't fit my my regular painting handle. I did buy a like a third-party one, a non-Games Workshop one, off of some guy who was selling them on eBay, like 3D printed. But unfortunately, that lasted about as long as you would imagine they did. First of all, it came with some little inserts that held the model in place, and the first iteration of them didn't actually fit the models. They were undersized for the bases, so I had to open them out a little bit by filing them down, and of course they wouldn't close with the jaws the way they were. They wouldn't fit round properly and close with a model in there, and then when I filed them down, the model was loose and would spin round. I couldn't do anything about it. So, you know, sucks to be that guy. Now, I have just noticed there is a little bit of visible space in here and in here, and I think we'll try and hit those with Earthshade when we do it, because that will fill that area up nicely with a sort of unknowable brown that we don't have to worry about too much. Right, I need Skeleton Horde to do these bits down his legs. We'll say that that is Skeleton Horde. Sorry, just trying to set up my stream manager on my phone. Better. Now, what have we got on our contrast point? So, yes, that's right. Okay. And I am being very careful now, very, very careful that everything sits on my palette, rather than being out there ready to spill over. Now that's a real mistake there, isn't it? I've tried to do this like cloth wrap, which I find Skeleton Horde is quite nice for normally. However, where I've done the gold, that gold has been done with, I believe, Aggaros Dunes, and that is very, very close to Skeleton Horde, so there's not a lot of difference there between those two pieces. So I don't know. I'm sure it'll be okay, and I've done the same here where the belt is, and if I come along and cover all of that with Agrax, so clearly I'm not going to just dip the model in Agrax, otherwise these areas will just look too similar, too samey with the gold metallic. I've mentioned a couple of times the scale on these, just looking at him against the cutting mat, where you've got the little markers for size and what have you. I'm not actually sure what they're supposed. Oh, okay, so they are Okay, each square on there is technically an inch by the look of the scale that I've got. Okay, that is starting to come together now, isn't it? Right, I think it is time to try our hot luck with our red on our Oblex. I think all of those highlights look like they should be dry. The paint on my palette is dry. Here goes nothing. This will be like the third time that I've painted this thing red, so fingers crossed it actually works. I'm just wondering whether I ought to thin it a bit, and I really think that I probably should probably thin this, and then it won't be quite so overpowering. Right, let's put us a dollop of medium there. Nice big dollop, because we've got quite a big model to do. Don't want to end up running out. And then we'll take a nice big dollop of the red, but that thins quite nicely, so let's have a look and see. Let's see what happens when we do this. That is meh. Maybe if we make it a bit thicker, that transition effect will be less. No, let's see. Oh, I think the thicker red in general is going to be a bit nicer. You're really going to have to slap this on to get the right effect out of it, I think. But that is making quite a nice effect. Oh well, sorry red, you are going to get mostly used on Oblex by the looks of things. It is an elder Oblex, so you don't need to feel too ashamed. Yeah, that's got the sort of weird spectral glow type effect that I was actually looking for in it now. I'm actually quite pleased with that. So make sure that we've got plenty there to mix this up. There is something strange about painting these sort of absolutely otherworldly type miniatures. They're not strictly high fantasy. They are, I don't know, D&D has such a weird way of doing things. Some modules will be sort of pure high fantasy. Some will be a bit weird and creepy and wonderful, or otherwise oriented, and then some you get that are like pure body horror that just doesn't seem to fit any real pattern, if you know what I mean. It's quite odd. Now I've got to be careful how I pick her up, because very soon she is going to be absolute. I keep calling her, which I suppose has a I think there's a goop. Something goopy on my brush there, which for a horrifying moment I thought was actually like Oblex material. Yeah. It's a bit weird to describe, but that is actually coming very close to the effect that I was after. Yeah, that's looking nice now. So that has almost created that glow that I was aiming for. It's not perfect. By a long shot is it perfect, but a lot better than it was. Right, now got a little bit of slightly more detail stuff here to go over. I'll try and avoid getting it on her, even though she is black where we're painting this, so it's not too tragic if we do. And you can see that that colour is just nicely bleeding through there. Like I say, almost a glow. That's good. Stay on target. I will have to get that as an emote once we unlock them, folks. Hanging up on my microphone arm there. Even the bits where I've sketched on, oh god damn it, touched the butt. The bits where I've sketched on have given it that sort of glow. The couldn't really have worked out any better if I'd have tried with that. Very happy with how that's come out. Obviously I could have made the transition on some of these skulls a bit cleaner. I wasn't really thinking of that when I did it. I was just trying to get a sort of fairly solid but sketchy kind of highlight on them. Benefits of hindsight. And where we've gone in slightly thicker with our overcoat of contrast, that is hiding those transitions quite nicely anyway. With all the fuss that's been going on about Oblivion late, I've decided that it would probably be about time for me to complete my first playthrough of Skyrim. I can't believe how many times I've tried and failed to do a complete run of that without getting distracted by mods and side quests and farming every possible piece of loot in the game without progressing the story anywhere. So I've actually only run the story probably 20 or 30 times up to and including the first sort of dragon, the first bit of voice in the Barrow something, I don't know. But yeah, I think I might give that a playthrough while everybody else is playing Oblivion. I don't think it'll be something that I stream. I don't think it'll be terribly watchable, if I'm honest with you. But while I am devoting quite a lot of time to streaming this sort of thing with the hobby side of it, I would like to keep my hand in with the gaming, because gaming on stream was being quite enjoyable for me. I don't want to give it up completely. Oh, we are nearly there. And once this coat has gone on and dried, and I am incredibly happy with it, this Oblex is finally going to be done. Those faces have come out perfectly. That's just the effect that I was looking for. I am properly pleased with that. It does look a bit gooey just at the moment, but hopefully once it's dried off and that's all gone a bit more matte, that'll be done. Now let's have a look at this. Right. I also did the absolute unthinkable today while I was in my FLGS. I bought myself 3 pots of paint that cost me like £9. That's just revolting. I don't know how they get away with it, to be honest with you. I think that is actually kind of disgusting. You know, three pots of paint shouldn't be over £9. And they absolutely need to come with a little label on the lid telling me what they are. Why can't I find my... Oh, it's because I've already got it out of the tub. Like the special case that I am. Right. Yeah, I can do him. That one doesn't need it. Here we go, folks. Here we go. Now, this one is going to be a straight out of the pot kind of chonk it on, but be quite cautious about where I'm putting. Well, no, at first, not. Just going to be a case of all over his slightly floppy sword. Don't tell him I said that. Because after all, he is like a level 7, a challenge rating 17 kind of dude, and we don't want anybody thinking I just insulted his floppy sword. The way this model is cast in this sort of PVC material, it has made the sword quite floppy. So we'll do that. We will then do a bit around here. His hands actually could stand for a bit of Agrax shading, just to add a bit of definition to them, really, because now they look really dirty. Well, I suppose that's kind of the effect that I was going for. Now just got to get a bit underneath his sword. There we go, and then I don't need to worry about his sword anymore. Now what I am going to come along and do is certain areas of him would benefit from Agrax, like these, to add a bit of definition to the face. And then we're just going to use it to sketch in underneath the areas that we've scratched. And that should dry really subtle. As long as I keep it reasonably thin, that should dry really nice. And just act to make them pop a little bit. just working up this detail, just very, very fine, sketchy lines underneath each of these cracks with a slightly darker shade. Just acts to, it's almost like a reverse highlight on them. They're going darker underneath the crack. You add depth, and then I could come along with a slightly lighter highlight above the top of the crack, but I'm not sure that I want to bring another shade into the mix on this red. We already went with a green shade over all of it the other day. And the yellow is basically a case of get stuffed on not shading and highlighting yellow. I suppose we could, in effect, almost black line shade the yellow into the real recesses. It will look quite cartoony, but he is Iron Golem Man, so cartoony is probably not actually a problem. I think that might actually be an idea for this. I hadn't really wanted or considered doing it, but if it is going to be that directed, if it is going to be that contained, then maybe it's not going to be so bad. Like I say, it almost acts like a panel line when you do it applied that sparingly. It's no longer a sort of all over wash. You are kind of specifically directing it to those corners. Yeah, so it's a little bit more controlled than Stay on target. Okay, he's coming along quite nicely now. That yellow definitely needed something else, and I think this sort of, it's almost going to look oily, which when I actually come to think about it, for this guy, perfect. Should have probably thought about it a long time ago, you know, when I first started painting. But to have these sections look a bit oily, a bit maintained, a bit unusual, yeah, no, that works. Happy with that. So that started to just bring our battle damage back a little bit. Just going to ever so gently go over a lot of these to make them look dirty and slightly rusty. I know it's all done with the same sort of Agrax finish, but and rust is maybe not the best of ideas for my iron golem, but then again he is iron, so maybe he would be rusty. So iron golem versus rust monster. I can't remember what are they actually called, rust monsters? I know there's the thing that if you hit one with a sword, there's a chance that the sword falls to rust or something and loses a point of that, or becomes a negative to hit weapon, I think. And once it becomes -5, it's then rusted away and gone forever. I think that's how it works. Get me, who was reviewing my monster manual the other day. Sometimes I will just sort of randomly pick up a book or two to have a look at, just to flick through, refresh my memory with some certain details about models and miniatures and how they work in game, and that's always great fun. Even when you're not at the table, D&D can be quite a, you know, I mean, I've just spent God knows how long painting all these miniatures, so yeah, it can be quite a time-consuming hobby even when you're not sat at the table. Whether or not that's a good thing, I don't really know. It's good for me because I can always use another distraction. Okay, that is looking swish. I am happy with all of that damage looking weathered in a bit now. So that's got him looking a lot more, I think it makes him look a lot more deadly. Big swig of my tea. We are getting towards the end of these miniatures. they're all now starting to get a bit towards the end of them. The Oblex is looking nice now that that red has dried. The Golem is looking pretty swish as well, getting him finished off. He's, in fact, I mean, I was tempted to paint some like numbers and sponsorships and what have you on him, but that seems like maybe taking it a bit too far. So those two are effectively done, and now we just have a couple of little details left to do on this guy, which we are going to do right now, and then a bit of a wash, and then he will be ready for the pot, which will mean that we'll need to figure our next models. We'll need to work out what we're going to do next. Oh, decisions. That is a tricky one, isn't it? My poor Wildwood creaking away like a pot that has been spilt. First of its kind. My first contrast paint spillage, and I've had these since the day they launched in the UK. I was one of the only people to pre-order the entire set. I went in there and said, I want to pre-order some contrast paints. He said, which colours? And I said, yes, all of them. Walk this way, and I said, I can't, it's the way my trousers sit. Oh, one arm. But the moral of the story is, never trust a contrast paint. Even when you think he's bolted down, he's still planning his escape. Because it was absolutely the contrast paint at fault and not me. I know that much. Got a little bit down on his leggy pegs to do. It's very hard to get a camera angle on that. Maybe it should be, because technically that's upskirting and that's now illegal. It's alright, I'll let you do it on this side, that's fine. Okay, there we go. Oh, missed a bit there. Missed the tips of his boots. Mustn't finish up too soon. And then the tips of his boots. And then just let that dry. Just let that dry. Okay, yeah, and then we are ready for our Agrax again. Now I'm just going to go and clean off my water. So please bear with me for just a moment and I'll be back in a second. I'll leave you with a good view of him. Okie dokie there, folks. Apologies for the slight break there while I just topped up my delicious. No, I'm not gonna even pretend to drink out of my paint jar. Although, to be fair, since I've realised that putting a lid on it stops the water from evaporating. The jar stays a lot cleaner. Okay, so we've very nearly now finished our fire giant. Only got a tiny little bit left to do on him. So we've got our fire giant, we've got a bit of Agrax to do on him, all over the sword, all of these metal panels. Just need to do the little bit on either hand. Now they are probably going to look a little bit weird because they are not going to be shaded the same as the ones on his legs and upper arms, but I don't know, that's going to look too weird if I don't shade them, isn't it? It's not going to look too terrible, but I still feel like I want to shade them. So we'll leave that to dry just for a moment. Now, I have been thinking about my camera placement. I'm not terribly happy with it, but maybe it's where I have my on-screen camera that's it's important in this one. Maybe I should change where I have my on-screen camera. Yeah, we'll have to have a think about that, how that works. So where it is at the moment, the camera is here where it used to be here. So yeah, not sure. We'll figure it out. That red isn't going to be too bad. I think I'm going to leave it as is. Right. Agrax away. And then we need, once that's done, so, maybe I'm racing here. Maybe I'm rushing to get to the end of him. Oh well. Even if I am, so what? Who cares? Right. Now, do I try and avoid getting the Agrax on the fire? Maybe I should try a little bit of fire first. I don't like it. So, of course, I hit the most prominent area of fire, as you do. There will be a tiny bit around the edge of the sword anyway, as we try and get that all over the sword blade, but try and keep it neat. Can we try and keep it neat? I'm sure we can try. We want to sort of go for a bit of a stippled, almost rusty texture on that. Pushing it around a little bit. Go. Now, I did want to try and get a bit of Earthshade down into each of these corners here. I hope that that is going to propagate around there without getting on too much other stuff. Oh, nearly worked. It does create a very sort of deliciously aged metal tone. Do love that. Try and find something to hold on to. And unfortunately, what I keep finding to hold on to is this bloody disc above his head, which I've just painted the other side of. Oh, I keep doing that, and that's going to bloody rub off, isn't it? God damn. There was a little bit of method to my madness with the green on this model. I think that adds just an ever so slight counterpoint to the reds. It just manages to shade in underneath this Agrax. It looks quite nice actually. Fields Beyond, hello, sorry I didn't spot your chat there, but if you're just lurking, welcome in. Thank you very much for dropping by. That's a cool name, Fields Beyond, like that. Right. Okay, that is starting to look quite nice now. I like to check him out on the camera just to see how he will show up to you guys, and he's looking pretty swish. I'm quite pleased with him. Right. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. The definition of the Agrax along the edge of the blade is probably all I ever wanted, where I was talking about running the Agrax over the whole fire thing. Yeah, it's probably best. I'm quite pleased with the fire, thank you. It's very, very simple. It's a zenithal prime, and then yellow, orange, and red and black contrast paints. It's worked quite well, to be honest with you. I'm quite surprised by how well it's come out. Yes, I very much agree, and that's why I do love at the moment my contrast paints. I don't have the time that I used to have to dedicate to painting, and anything that thank you very much for the follow, that's very much appreciated. Anything that I can do to sort of speed up the process, yeah, it sounds like cheating and what have you. Oh, that's a follower goal done as well, actually. Thank you for that. Fields Beyond, I think you are my 50th follower. Woo, go the trumpets and everything. Don't actually have trumpets to play out on stream, unfortunately, but did I have? I did have a. No, I'm not going to play the little sound mixer tune thing that I had, just because it would probably hurt your ears. That did indeed. That did indeed. I very much appreciate that. Thank you. So, what brings you to the miniatures and models area this evening, or whatever time of day it is for you, forgetting that Twitch is international, obviously? Are you not a big fan of that noise anyway? No, neither am I, to be fair. Okay, Pacific time zone. So you're hold on, what's that? That's West Coast. West Coast, yeah, so midday. That puts you 9 to 10 hours behind us, I'm guessing. There we go. It's a bit difficult keeping track of how vast your country is at times, so right, and I'm just gonna put a little bit in his hair. Not all the way down, but just so that it looks like he's got a bit of a parting going on with some roots in there, I'm guessing. Okay, that's cool. That's very cool. I mean, it's, as I'm sure you'll come to learn, that's known in the hobby as a big pile of shame. Doing your homework. Okay. Code for a living. My code is compiling. Right. Okay. So it's in spare time then. I'm sure all coders would appreciate compiling time being referred to as spare time. Well, you're actually quite lucky in that you have joined us at a time where the three that are on my bench are done. I don't do the bases live on stream because that is literally me daubing black paint on them. The bases are just black paint. My Iron Golem man here is done and dusted. He's certainly not derivative of anything. You know, he's not supposed to remind you of Iron Man at all. He's done. The Fire Giant that you've just been watching me splurge Agrax Earthshade all over is done. and then this weird creepy, the Elder Oblex, is also done. Which means it's time for me to actually pick another 3 miniatures to sit on the desk and be painted. But I have a bit of a limited selection at the moment because not all of them have been prepped. Let's just have a look. So those ones are now done, out of the way, and we have a little selection of prepped miniatures at the moment. I've got an ogre. I have another storm giant. And this bad boy, which you're not going to see while the others are on the table. So this is a Dracolish, which is probably one of the strongest models you're ever going to throw at your players as a DM. So I'm a bit tempted to not do these three at the moment and actually step back and do a few more of the nitty gritty, as it were, the sort of foot soldiers. So with that note, I have some gnolls and a couple of carrion crawlers, but I will pick one of these big dudes. So if you have any choice of those three, the Dracolish, the ogre, and the storm giant, pop it in the chat, and we'll do a couple of these sort of minions, and we'll do a big model at the same time. This one, absolutely. I think that one has been itching for its time on the desk, mostly because I'm missing a gnoll somewhere. No, I'm not. Got him over there. I'm not going to do 5 of them all at once. That seems a bit much. That's no problem. What I will show you though is the partner to that giant that we finished off the other day. Sorry, stepping away from the microphone. For this one, I want to keep him relatively similar to his buddy, who we finished off on stream the other day. So I'm going to keep the colour scheme very similar to this one, because he came out really quite nicely, and I want to try and get the same sort of effect on him. There won't be quite as much lightning involved, except for possibly the eyes. I might see about doing the flame here as sort of the same colour blue as well. But yeah, he's I was quite pleased with how he turned out. That took quite a while to get that one looking just right. Don't look at the back of the blade, you're not allowed to see that, it's terribly done, but nobody's going to see that, they'll only look at the front. So we'll start work on our storm giant, and then we've got 2 carrion crawlers and 2 gnolls as well, like so. So that's the next ones on the desk. Now the gnolls and the carrion crawlers do need a tiny little bit of prep work, and this is part of my recipe for doing these models. You get to see here how I do. Yeah, no worries, no worries. This is the Zenithal priming that I do. So I spray these black with a very cheap spray, and then I spray them from the above with a grey primer, and then I come along and dry brush the whole model. So you can see that when you add the paint, they're already pre-shaded. So I've got to do that on these ones first, and it's a bit of a boring process, but it is part of the process, so I'll do it. It doesn't work for all paint styles, and it does depend upon the paints that you've got. I mostly do mine with contrast paints. There's a variety of them on the market from different manufacturers. Contrast paint is the Citadel version. There's speed paints from Army Painter, and I can't remember what Vallejo do, but I think they do one as well. And basically it's like a high opacity ink that you paint on, and it finds its own shadows. It does its sort of own shading for you. It's a bit cheaty, but I'm very much of the mind that I need to paint some of my pile of shame and get it out of the way. So this dry brush will just then allow that high opacity ink to have a little bit of extra shade to it when it sits in the recesses. Do you know what models you're painting at the moment? Or is it just a case of, I'm painting this one that's in front of me? Because it's lovely to see, because as much as my wife is perfectly happy to indulge the fact that I'm a nerd at heart, there's no way that she wants to come in and paint my pile of shame for me. That's cool. Terrain is some of the best stuff to paint at times. It's lovely, relaxing stuff to paint, because you mostly get to whop out your big brushes and daub it on while you're watching some TV or listening to some music or something, which is quite nice. Right, that's the boring side of this done. Now I do just need to look up what the hell colours I'm going to paint Carrion Crawler, and unfortunately I've only got 2 of these. A lot of the models that I paint, there are 3. These come from a different board game. These are actually from a much older board game than the ones that I normally paint. So there's only 2 of these. There's 5 of the Gnolls, but the Carrion Crawlers, there's only 2 of them. So I'm not going to get to do my normal paint 2 in a sort of basic colour and 1 of them in a, you know, an upgraded sort of character colour, unfortunately. showed me the pump, but it actually yeah, I mean, a lot of it will be, you know, bronze and red and sort of chaotic murder colours. That is the whole sort of gothic side of the hobby. But yeah, I mean, if you can get away with painting flowers on it and what have you, go for it. Absolutely, 100%. I much preferred it when the hobby had a bit of light and humour to it, and I do in fact prefer even those models that I have to put a bit of grimdark into. I prefer to paint them a little bit. Yeah, it was quite a long while ago in the hobby, but they changed it significantly. It was a design change, and it's done them very, very well. It's done them very well to change the hobby to a more, and there's a term for it, and it's grimdark. They coined it themselves, this whole everything is dark and gothic and murdery, whereas beforehand there was a lot of dark humor, but humor to it nonetheless, and I kind of preferred that. But unfortunately, that side of the hobby disappeared around about the early to mid 90s, so it's been gone for a long while, believe me. Right, with dry brushing, I do just have to go and rinse my brush out. I can't do it in the pot, it has to come off in the sink, so I'll be back in just a second. Hey, I like that idea, yeah. In the grim darkness of the far future, war has finally ended as nature has returned. Yeah, no, that's good. Right, let's have a look. Have I got any? No tea left. Right, carrion crawler. I think they can be green. I think green would look quite good for that. So I'm do a nice sort of healthy green, I think. Unfortunately, these little bits that sort of hang out under his chin, despite the fact that they look like asparagus, the Forgotten Realms wiki, the image that they've taken, has actually got them looking, you know, painted like asparagus as well, which is kind of unfortunate. So maybe we'll avoid that on this one. And then I did just want to have a look at gnolls as well. Salad themed, so yeah. Right, I do actually like the image of the knoll from Monster Manual, so I think that will be the one that we use for these guys, which is a sort of grey face, arms and legs, and then the back goes to a sort of hyena spot, which I think will look quite nice. Maybe get that working right there. And then this big boy here. So exploring the colours that we're going to use, I think that we'll go with the same sort of skin tone as we did on the other one. I mean, that's a given, it has to be. Same sort of white beard, gold for the crown. These shoulder pads look like some sort of fur, so we'll go with, probably to give him a little bit of contrast to the white and the grey skin, we'll probably go with a brown sort of fur on his shoulders. White cloak. Yeah, white cloak. These tassel bits will be brown like on the other guy, and then these panels here are going to be metallic, silver at the bottom, and then this bit here picked out as gold, I think, with some banding in the same. It's going to look a bit too close to that one if I do the banding the same colour. Might need to throw some differences in there. And then of course sandals, like all good Giant Kings would have. And then fire. I wonder actually if this shouldn't be painted in white. Yeah, I'm going to paint that in white. This is going to be metallic. This is going to be leather. Leather, metallic. Okay, planning done. Planning done. We can start with... Oh my god, what are we starting with? Starting with white. Right, let's break this one out. We haven't got too much longer left of our stream tonight. It is getting quite late. I do have to be up tomorrow morning, but then hopefully for the rest of the week we can have a bit of a late one because we're off. Right. Now I am just going to keep it on target. Here we go. Right, slap that all over on this one. Now, unfortunately, the Zenithal does play fair havoc with this Apothecary white. It will come out looking quite grey, and we'll have to come along and highlight it afterwards, but that's fine. We can manage that. Might need to do a second coat of this one. Right, that is definitely going to need a second coat, and I am dreading how these robes are going to come out as well. In fact, I'm dreading it so much that I'm not going to paint the inside of the robes in white. They are going to be red, I believe. Just a quick change on the fly there for those. Knocking everything about again. I definitely should have invested in that paint handle earlier on today. Because now I'm regretting the lack of it. I think his beard is going to be white as well. That's going to be very much a lot of white all in one area, isn't it? Oh well, I will just have to make sure that we highlight the robes and not the beard. And we might just pull it off. I did think much the same about the other guy when we were doing him, and he came out all right, so fingers crossed that actually works. I mean, in real life, I'd be inclined to agree with you. In fantasy, fictional, almost, these guys are almost mythological storm giants. They very much sort of play upon the mythology one. So yeah, I mean, silvery white. Yes, it's all much of a muchness to these guys, I think, but we'll get some definition back when we highlight the robes, because if we leave the beard and the hair, it will be this colour, and the robes will then become lighter around it. So I think we'll be okay. They won't look too the same. Right, just that little bit of top on the top piece there. And then we need to do the robes all down his back. this is probably the least satisfying contrast colour to paint, but only when you've done this zenithal highlight, because you're painting it on and you're like, oh god, that looks so bad, that's so bad. Once it dries, it is a little bit better, but as you're painting it on, it just looks awful. Conversely, when you use a plain white undercoat, this is probably one of the most satisfying ones to paint, because it just looks great. It goes on, it looks all blobby and grey, and then almost instantly you see the colour just start to fade out, and it just looks like really, really nice highlighted white. You're like, oh, why didn't I start using these sooner? Have yet to actually try out the other brands of speed paint. I did want to try and get a hold of some of the metallics that I think it's Army Painter do. The speed paint range, I think, has got metallics in it, but unfortunately the shop that I go to, he's waiting to get some more in, but they've changed their range and he's out of stock apparently, so unfortunate, but I'll just have to wait. I am well known for my patience, or not, as it may be. Right, so we've just agreed that the inside of the cloak is going to be in red. That's looking nice round there. Yeah, well, I think I might have been in the same queue as you if they'd run out by the time we got to the front. Yesterday not yesterday, over the weekend we went shopping, spur of the moment. Oh, we're going to go shopping. Okay, no worries. Nice meeting you too. Thank you very much for the follow. You're my 50th follower, much appreciated. Hopefully see you around sometime, and good luck with the painting. It's nice to see somebody new to the hobby. Right, let's go ahead and figure out a nice green for a carrion crawler. Now I've got my contrast paints checkup page here. Let's have a look. What looks like a nice green for a carrion crawler? Ciao for now. I'm thinking I want a nice bold bright green. Let me have a look at what the maybe I don't. I think the Monster Manual tends to have them as a yellowy kind of colour. Maybe I'll have one yellow and one green. And then somebody else has done a carrion crawler in a very sort of fleshy mid-tone. So I don't know. Let's have a look at our contrast page again, just see what looks right for I think, I mean, they are such cheesy looking models that I think maybe green would be better. No, I'm not sold. I am going to do one of them in Aggaros Dunes, and I'm going to do the other one in Dark Oath Flesh. So we're going to have one slightly yellow and one slightly fleshy coloured, and we'll see if they look hideous. However, both of them are going to have their danglies painted in a sort of purpley tint. Yeah, that sounds really wrong when you say it like that, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay, well, decision made. One of them Aggaros Dunes, one of them Dark Oath Flesh. We'll have to just see how ick they make us feel. And if they make us feel really ick, then we'll repaint them. But for now, that's what we're going to do. I'm going to be quite brisk about this. I'm not going to beat about any bushes. I am literally just going to slap this one on. Stay on target, remember, put it in the crosshairs. That's my crosshairs there, and if I get my model there, then it's in a reasonable position for the camera, because I keep finding myself painting it down here. Maybe it's a indicator that I should move the camera, but I also find that if I paint it down there, I have more brush control because it's on the edge of the desk, but I'm looking down more, so I end up with more of a crick in my neck. Whereas if I have it here, yes, it's in the camera better, but I can also paint for longer because I don't get so much of a crick in my neck. So there is logic to my madness. The claws and what have you along the side, I'm actually going to do those in quite sort of traditional red to black claws. Not realistic, but unfortunately with the colours that I'm picking, if I go realistic on the claws, they won't stand out at all. Oh, a little bit of spatter there. I can get spatter. Right. Now we'll do the base of their asparaguses, and then we'll feather them into a purple at the end, probably. Like I say, we'll see how much ick it gives us. Right, now I've got to start being careful about how I hold them. These are such cheesy old models of carrion crawlers. These ones came from the Parker's 2003 board game, which is it's a lovely little set. There's some really nice models in there, but they are very much of an older time kind of models. Fantastic board game pieces for, you know, 8-year-olds. Just what you want. for them to go, oh, look at that, oh god, we've got to fight that, but a little bit comedic when you compare them to stuff out there nowadays. Yes, you could probably get a much better carrion crawler model, or even get an STL for it and print one, but I don't want to. I have these board game models. Some of them I already had, some of them I've been out and sourced them, and I think that cheesy is just what the D&D table needs at times, and also a bit sort of period correct. You know, I'm still stuck in the 80s. These have got a very sort of almost an 80s kind of feel to them. Hang on, this one will fit in a painting handle. What am I doing? Being an idiot again. This one will probably fit in a painting handle. Yeah, there we go. That sort of works. No. Hey, look at that. Head for thinking, feet for dancing. Right, that is one. Oh, we're a bit close now. The old painting handle has made him a bit taller. I need to keep him angled down, otherwise he'll go all fuzzy for you. Right, there's our... Oh, no, that's a bit much, isn't it? See if we can wipe some of that off. Okay, looking pretty good. Pop him out there. Now the other one, we are going to do the other one in a sort of flesh colour. Well, I say it's sort of a flesh colour. We're not. We're going to do it in dark oath flesh. There we go. That's better. Stay on target. So let's see how the fleshy one looks. See if it is just absolutely disgusting to look at. If it is, then are we dropping something? Why have we only got one on? Connected to YouTube. Okay. Yeah, that'll do. Oh, it's back now. Never mind. Right, this is going to be the fleshy coloured one. And proceed to see if we get the ick. Maybe. Oh, I mean, it's going to look a bit. Not sold yet, but we'll see. I mean, the paint does go really nicely. It does flow very well. It's the contrast effect on it is quite good. When I say the contrast effect, I mean the way it sort of sits down into the recesses. That's quite nice on this paint. It's purely going to be the fact that this model, I think, is going to look revolting in flesh tones. I think there's every possibility that this might end up looking a bit penisy. I mean, a weird D&D penis monster, but, you know, just the same. Oh God, no, just the tip while we're painting this one, folks. Really? Sorry if you can hear that. Like I say, I have cracked the window open to see how much noise we get from outside, and it's 10 o'clock at night and somebody's just started up a little two-stroke motorbike. Speaking of 10 o'clock at night, I'm going to have to draw this stream to a close and go and get to bed because it is getting late here. So we'll get this colour on. I don't think we're going to do anything on our knolls tonight, but it does give us something to come back to tomorrow. Although I have been toying with the idea of bringing back the 3D sculpting stream. I will have to bring it back at some point because I've got Orlocks to finish. For now, I want to get a few more of my D&D models finished. But we might have a little session this week on the Orlocks. This is kind of the area where I was a little bit worried about this colour because, well, I mean I knew we were doing it in a fleshy colour, but still, this is kind of dangerous territory. Twitch doesn't decide to take me off air. Okay, well, there's our weird fleshy beastie done. doesn't look too bad on the camera. It certainly looks slightly worse here at home. Okay, so we have one sandy colour, one fleshy colour, and we've got two knolls that we haven't even started on. Look at them bad boys. They're going to be cool. I do like knolls. I think they're a severely overlooked D&D race, and the lore behind them is something that we never really get to see in other mediums. So things like World of Warcraft, you never really get to see what the lore behind gnolls is, whereas with D&D they just put it in a book. They are off-casts from some god of some sort. I can look it up if you really wanted to know the ins and outs of it, but I'm sure you probably don't. That's all from me for tonight. I do need to be up early tomorrow. I have odd jobs to do, which is always lovely. Thank you very much to everyone who has dropped by for the stream. It really is very appreciated. Thank you very much to my 50th follower who dropped in today and dropped us a follow. Like what they saw and click that follow button. I do urge any of you out there who haven't done so already to do the same. Very much appreciated. It means a huge amount to me as it helps me to build this channel into a nice little community. I will start taking pictures of the miniatures and adding them to the Discord very soon. We've now got a decent collection there that I can take a bunch of pictures and upload them all in one sort of hit to the Discord, and that's where I want to be with that. Yeah, so moving forwards, we've got some more painting to do, we've got some 3D sculpting to do, and maybe at some point, if you guys will let me, we'll even play a little bit of game. Yeah. For tonight though, thank you very much, and I will catch you on the next one. Toodaloo.